Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds delegation-level talks with Guyana's President, will attend the second India-CARICOM summit with other Caribbean leaders in Georgetown. The US shuts its embassy in Ukraine, citing threat of air attack. Putin aide warns the West against a direct military confrontation. Media tycoon Jimmy Lai testifies in a case that is seen as a test of Hong Kong's press freedom and judicial independence. And the 55th edition of the International Film Festival of India opens with a glittering opening ceremony in Goa. Prasar Bharati launches an OTT platform called Waves. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held delegation-level talks with Guyana's President, Dr. Mohammad Irfan Ali, in Georgetown. The two leaders discussed bilateral cooperation in various fields, including trade and investment, and they exchanged views on global and regional matters. An MOU was exchanged between India's Central Drugs Standard Control Organization and the Drug Regulatory Authority of Guyana on cooperation in the field of medical products regulation. Another MOU was exchanged on cooperation in hydrocarbons sector. The two countries also exchanged an MOU on cooperation in the field of agriculture and allied sectors. India and Guyana also exchanged an MOU in the field of digital payments for the launch of the Unified Payments Interface-like payment system. Earlier, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi was accorded a ceremonial welcome at the State House in Georgetown. It is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's maiden visit to Guyana and the first by an Indian Prime Minister in 56 years. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi was received by the President of Guyana and the Prime Ministers of Grenada and Barbados, besides the Cabinet of Guyana at his hotel. In a special gesture, Prime Minister Modi was given the key to the city of Georgetown by its mayor. The hotel lobby was adorned with vibrant cultural displays, and the atmosphere was filled with a sense of pride and celebration. Inside the hotel, the Indian and Guyanese communities greeted the Prime Minister with traditional hospitality. Guyana will confer its highest national award, the Order of Excellence, on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Barbados too will confer its honorary Order of Freedom of Barbados on Prime Minister Modi. Dominica has announced its highest national award, the Dominica Award of Honor, on Prime Minister Modi a few days back. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will join leaders from the Caribbean partner countries for the second India-CARICOM summit. The CARICOM heads of government and India's Prime Minister had last met in 2019. The leaders had met on the margins of the 74th session of the UNGA. They discussed cooperation in modalities in renewable energy and climate change through a $150 million credit line from India. The process of formalizing relations with CARICOM as a bloc and India began in 1985. An agreement on scientific and technical cooperation was signed. The first meeting of the CARICOM India Joint Commission was convened in June 2015. The meeting identified areas of cooperation as agri-business development, food security, health, small business development, marine development, fisheries and disaster management. Right, so those were the key takeaways from Prime Minister Modi's ongoing visit to Guyana, the first such visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 56 years. A number of MOUs were signed towards the end of the delegation-level talks headed by the Prime Minister and the President of Guyana, the host country, in Georgetown, the capital of that country. Remember, Prime Minister Modi is on a three-nation tour that first took him to Nigeria for a bilateral visit, followed by his visit to Brazil for the G20 summit. And now he is visiting Guyana on the third and last leg of his three-nation tour, where he will also address the Indian diaspora, address the Guyanese lawmakers, and also co-chair the second India-CARICOM summit. Right, joining me is Mr. Sanjay Bhattacharya. Ambassador Bhattacharya is a former Indian envoy to Switzerland, Egypt and Turkey. Ambassador, welcome to DD India. Now, we saw those visuals of the two leaders, Indian and Guyanese, make press statements towards the end of their talks in Georgetown. How would you describe India's relations and outreach to Latin America and the Caribbean in general and Guyana in particular?
Well, Guyana, I think, has been a very special relationship because it's a historical connect that goes back to about 185 years when indentured labor went from here. And today we have a president in Guyana who's of Indian origin. Irfan Ali was the chief guest at the Prasar Bharati Sammelan last year and is an awardee of the Prasar Bharati Samman Award as well. He's a highly distinguished person, and the Indian community, which is close to 1/3 in Guyana, has done extremely well. For us, Guyana is very special also because Guyana has emerged...
Ambassador, do hold your thoughts. I hate to interrupt you there. Let's get you some live visuals again from Georgetown, the latest visuals of a tree plantation ceremony. The plantation of a sapling. These are the latest visuals of the ceremony taking place in Georgetown, Guyana. The two leaders, Prime Minister Modi of India and President Ali of Guyana, planting a sapling in Georgetown after the conclusion of their delegation-level talks just moments ago. All right, going back to my guest, Ambassador Bhattacharya, who is with us. Ambassador, sorry to have interrupted you there. Do finish making a point about India, Latin American, Caribbean relations in general and Guyana in particular.
Right. As we were saying, this is a remarkable coincidence because Guyana has emerged as the fastest growing economy in the world.
Right.
And we, of course, are the fastest growing major economy in the world. So the complementarities of fast growth and growing areas of cooperation is already evident. Guyana has become a huge inheritor of very large hydrocarbon deposits, which is going to transform its economy. And in many ways, India can play a very significant role in that particular transformation. We already have an active partnership which goes into various areas of economic cooperation, our technical and economic cooperation, our development assistance. There are lines of credit through which Guyana has been acquiring various assets from India, also technical expertise and training. So I think the foothold that we have in Guyana is extremely critical in the way we expand our relations with Latin America and the Caribbean. This time, as you know, we are also going to be hosting the second India-CARICOM meet, and the Prime Minister of Grenada, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be co-chairing with Prime Minister Modi on this particular event. And he had arrived early to greet Prime Minister when he had arrived in Georgetown. The CARICOM relationship is very critical for us, not only because these are 15 countries and 6 associate members who part of the small island group in that particular area. They play a very significant role in the United Nations, in the discussions that we have, and especially as we move towards reforms of the United Nations and the very important agenda of climate change. The role of the CARICOM will be very, very important. Also, let us not forget that this is another area where we have expanded our presence, and our interests over there have grown in various economic spheres, in the hospitality, tourism, and many other fields. And we rely on them, and we provide them with great assistance. Latin America, of course, is a huge continent with very, very deep relations. Prime Minister just coming from Rio. Brazil is one of our closest partners, a strategic partner with whom we have deep, deep relations, not only through BRICS and IBSA, but also in terms of the very broad leadership that we provide to the global south. We also have very deep relations with other countries in Latin America, Argentina, Peru, and many others. And that has emerged as a new center where we are expanding in our areas of critical minerals and resources, where we are developing our strategic links as we expand, because as the nations, our interests get wider, and we are looking at Latin America with renewed interest.
Ambassador, let's talk a bit, if we will, about the just concluded talks. What did you make of Prime Minister Modi's talks with President Ali of Guyana and the agreement signed towards the end of those talks? Did it tick all the right boxes for you in terms of optics and outcomes?
I would say that this has been a relationship that has been growing over time. There is a certain similarity that is already present between the two leaders. President Ali is now well known to Prime Minister Modi, and they have had exchanges in the past. And that particular camaraderie has expanded into the various areas of cooperation that we are now looking at, which is just the way it should. As I had mentioned earlier, I would say that we are now on the stepping stone of a very accelerated path towards building a very, very strong relationship, which will be a foundation not only for the Latin America and the northern part of it, but also when we extend towards the CARICOM region.
Ambassador, I'm afraid that's all we have time for. I'll have to leave it at that. Ambassador Bhattacharya, thank you once again for joining us and sharing your thoughts and insights with the viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. In other news, the Ukraine-Russia conflict remains a focal point of global concern. The U.S. support to Ukraine for striking deep into Russian territory has heightened the tensions. The next report tells you more.
It's been more than 1,000 days since the Russia-Ukraine conflict began dominating global discourse. Amid growing fears of escalation, the US Embassy temporarily closed operations in Ukraine's capital city, Kyiv, after receiving specific intelligence about a potential significant air attack. This development follows the United States' decision to allow Ukraine to strike targets deep inside Russia using American-made weapons. Ukraine recently targeted a Russian weapons arsenal in the Bryansk region with attack missiles or the Army tactical missile systems, marking the first time these missiles were fired across the border. The Biden administration's significant policy shift prompted a response from Russian President Vladimir Putin, who on Tuesday signed a decree expanding the circumstances under which Moscow could use nuclear weapons against a non-nuclear state, if that state is supported by nuclear powers. The US has not adjusted its nuclear posture in response to Russia's updated doctrine. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and his advisors are preparing for the possibility of a second Trump presidency, as the candidate has expressed criticism of US aid to Kiev in the past. Bureau Report, DD India.
Russian President Vladimir Putin's spy chief has warned the West on Wednesday that it risks disastrous consequences if the US and its European allies stoke a direct military confrontation with Russia over Ukraine. Sergei Naryshkin, the head of Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, says Russia would punish any NATO member that helps Ukraine strike deep into Russia with long-range Western weapons. With Russian forces advancing in Ukraine, Moscow says it will achieve all its aims, including demilitarization of Ukraine. But Ukraine downplays the threat of an imminent large-scale missile threat after several foreign embassies in Kiev closed for a day, citing a quote-unquote potential strike. For his part, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky tells a US TV channel that he fears that he might lose the war against Russia.
If they will cut, I think we will lose. Of course, anyway, we will stay, we will fight. We have our production, but it's not enough to prevail. And I think it's not enough to survive. But that will be, if such choice will be American choice. So we will decide what we will have.
US President-elect Donald Trump is forging ahead with his cabinet's elections and policy plans as his transition gains momentum. From healthcare reform to economic strategies, Trump's latest announcements promise a mix of continuity and innovation. Nupur Praveen reports.
US President-elect Donald Trump isn't just building a cabinet. He's assembling a cast for what promises to be a headline-making presidency. Donald Trump has tapped celebrity doctor Mehmet Oz, a Turkish-American doctor, to lead the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Service, an agency that is responsible for the healthcare of millions of Americans. Dr. Oz transitioned from cardiothoracic surgery to television fame via The Oprah Winfrey Show and his 13-season Emmy-winning show, The Dr. Oz Show. Oz is another addition to the unconventional health team after Trump tabbed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Secretary of Department of Health and Human Services. Together, they will target what Trump calls the illness industrial complex. The billionaire co-founder of World Wrestling Entertainment, Linda McMahon, has been appointed as Education Secretary in the new Trump administration. She is a long-time Trump supporter and brings loyalty and experience to the role. She is also the co-chair of Trump's transition team. Trump has chosen Howard Lutnick, CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, to lead the Commerce Department. Lutnick shares Trump's vision of bringing back manufacturing jobs and integrating cryptocurrency into US economic policy. Trump also joined his closest ally at the moment, Elon Musk, on Tuesday at SpaceX's latest Starship test launch in Texas, signaling interest in space exploration. Meanwhile, in New York, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office has delayed sentencing in Trump's hush money case, giving prosecutors time to counter his expected dismissal motion. This marks another legal hurdle for the president-elect. From reshaping healthcare to rethinking the economy, Donald Trump's transition is as controversial as it is ambitious. As January approaches, the world is watching to see how these bold choices will define his presidency. Nupur Praveen for DD India.
OPEC Secretary General Haytham Al-Ghais told COP29 to embrace all energies as negotiations continued in Baku on Wednesday. He also said that the focus of the Paris Agreement is reducing emissions, not choosing energy sources.
OPEC has consistently advocated a balanced approach where nothing and no one should be dismissed. We need to embrace all energies, leverage all the available technologies, and ensure that the needs of all peoples around the world are taken into account. This means recognizing that the focus of the Paris Agreement is reducing emissions, not choosing energy sources.
UN Atomic Watchdog Chief Rafael Grossi on Wednesday welcomed Iran's concrete step on agreeing to cap its stockpile of highly enriched uranium. Iran has taken steps towards no longer expanding its stock of uranium enriched to up to 60%, close to the roughly 90% of weapons grade. Speaking at a press conference which comes several days after Grossi returned from a trip to Iran, he said that he hoped that Iran's move towards capping its stock of uranium just short of weapons grade will hold.
And I made a request for Iran to stop increasing the stockpile of 60%, and this was accepted by Iran, which took initial steps, as it is indicated in my report, which could be verified on Saturday by our inspectors. So, of course, there are important discussions now at the board. We will see what happens, but this is what we agreed, and I hope this will hold.
Moving on, a court in Pakistan granted bail to jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan in a case relating to the illegal sale of state gifts, his party said on Wednesday. Cricketer turned politician has been in prison since August 2023, but it was not immediately clear if the embattled politician would be released, given that he faces a number of other charges too, including inciting violence against the state. However, the ruling Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Party said that Imran Khan lacked bail in cases in which he is charged with planning riots by his supporters in the wake of his arrest in May last year. The former Prime Minister Khan denies any wrongdoing and alleges all the cases registered against him are politically motivated. Pakistan's military said on Wednesday that a suicide attack in northwestern Pakistan killed 12 soldiers following a separate clash that left 8 dead in the same region bordering Afghanistan. The army further added that 6 militants died in an exchange of fire between them and the soldiers right before the suicide attack in Bannu. Jailed Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai defended his newspaper Apple Daily as a strong advocate for democracy and freedom during his national security trial on Wednesday. Lai said that the core values of the newspaper, such as the rule of law, democracy, freedom of speech, religion and assembly, reflect the principles held by the people of Hong Kong. While Beijing slammed Lai as an agent and lackey for anti-China forces, the Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said Lai is the main plotter and participant of the anti-China chaos in Hong Kong. The case centers around articles in the newspaper that supported huge, sometimes violent pro-democracy protests in 2019 and criticized Beijing's leadership. The 76-year-old has been imprisoned for nearly 4 years and could face life sentence. India's Defence Minister Rajat Singh is in Laos PDR for the 11th ASEAN Defence Ministers Meeting Plus. It's the highest defence consultative and cooperative mechanism in the ASEAN. While addressing the Indian community there, Minister Singh said that after 2014, India's stature has grown in the forum.
2014 के बाद इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी में भारत का स्टेचर बढ़ा है। पहले भारत इंटरनेशनल फोरम पर कुछ बोलता था तो भारत की बातों को जितनी सीरियसली लिया जाना चाहिए, जितनी गंभीरतापूर्वक लिया जाना चाहिए, नहीं लिया जाता था। लेकिन आज इंटरनेशनल फोरम पर भारत कुछ बोलता है तो सारी दुनिया कान खोलकर सुनती है कि भारत बोल क्या रहा है। यह भारत के यह कोई छोटी बात नहीं है। अब हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर का सम्मान यदि दुनिया के देश में होता है, इसका मतलब प्राइम मिनिस्टर जिस कंट्री का प्राइम मिनिस्टर है उस कंट्री का सम्मान हो रहा है।
On the sidelines of the talks, Minister Singh met his Chinese counterpart. It was the first such meeting following the recent disengagement agreements and the meeting of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of BRICS summit. Minister Singh highlighted that amicable relations between India and China would have positive implications for global peace and prosperity. Considering that both countries are and will continue to remain neighbors, he said they need to focus on cooperation rather than conflict. Minister Singh also met his counterparts from Malaysia and Laos PDR. In his meeting with the Malaysian minister, both sides agreed to support each other's endeavours to arrive at meaningful outcomes to promote security and stability in the region. Minister Singh complimented Laos PDR for its efficient and inclusive leadership as the chair of ASEAN this year. These meetings are aimed at further enhancing bilateral defence cooperation with these countries. Indian actor Jaydeep Aalat walked the red carpet on the opening ceremony of IFFI and shared his journey and a message to the young stars with DD India. He has been felicitated at the 55th edition of IFFI for his contribution to Indian cinema. Take a listen.
We have with us the legendary actor Jaydeep Aalat, who hardly needs any introduction. Jaydeep, when we talk about your journey, you are ruling the cinema and the OTT platform equally. What was your inspiration behind taking up this career?
I don't know. I never wanted to be an actor. I know this for a fact. But I think during my course of life, it just, it takes me to the मंच जिसको हम बोलते हैं हिंदी में. I went on a stage and started working as an actor in theatre, and it went on and on and on. So I don't know, but I think I'm loving this, that I am part of this amazing industry which make people happy and entertain them.
From there to IFFI and the awards that you've got, you've been accoladed in your entire career. You've chosen your roles very intellectually. What is it that is always there in your mind when you pick up your roles?
I always try then when I read a story or a script, if it gives you some kind of goosebumps, then it's a good film. It stays with you. The story stays with you at least for a few days or hours. So, and I strongly believe that you don't really choose your scripts choose you. So I just be aware that if something I'm reading and it's giving me some kind of pleasure as a reader, so it will be hopefully a good film. So I try to do that.
Actor and director Randhir Kapoor is being felicitated for his film Swatantra Sarer at the 55th edition of IFFI. In an exclusive conversation with DD India's Deepika, Randhir Kapoor said that he wants to showcase India's young minds and talent to the global cinema. Take a listen.
With us the legendary actor Randhir Kapoor. Sir, when we talk about Veer Savarkar, acting, directing, you've played too many roles here in this particular movie. How challenging? Indeed, how challenging this has been for you?
It has been one of the most challenging things for me, and I think you grow when you are challenged, and I think I've grown a lot in these 2 years that I was involved in the movie. I find new things that I could do, like direction and even writing and all that. So I'm very excited for my future creative process to be able to involve myself not just as an actor but other professionals in making cinema. I'm very excited.
From cinema to OTT, you've been playing a key role, and now that you are into directing, what is that change that you want to see in cinema altogether?
We have to become more Indian and we have to tell our stories and not be in awe of the West.
One message that you want to send across to the world cinema through your work?
That we are no less than any other country in terms of creativity, in terms of history, or in terms of talent.
Prasar Bharati, India's public broadcaster, has launched its own OTT platform, Waves, offering a broad spectrum of entertainment and news content, as reported by ET Brand Equity. The app is now available for download on Android and iOS devices. The platform aims to cater to a wide audience with its mix of live channels, movies, TV shows, games, and live events. Here's more.
The 55th edition of the International Film Festival of Goa kicked off in grand style with the launch of many firsts and new initiatives in order to cater the global cinema market. And in a significant development for the Indian digital media landscape, Prasar Bharati's much-awaited OTT platform went live during IFFI with its official launch at the prestigious International Festival.
As the audiences have discovered the newer media of consuming content, digital is one medium which has gained quite a lot of prominence in these days and times. So it is only fitting that Prasar Bharati also forays into this domain. And one of the advantages of this would be also that the content would be available to all audiences, even if they are in the remotest parts of the country or even outside the country. There is a lot of demand for Indian content across the board, across the world. The Indian settlers in various countries also remember their times here in India through these programs. And of course, they want to keep updated with the news, with the entertainment of Indian origin. We will also be making provisions for sharing some of the informative content that is being produced by the ministries of Government of India, by various state governments, and some rare archival material of photographs, of magazines and journals and e-books. We would also be providing facilities for e-games. So, e-shopping, which is also gaining a lot of prominence these days, is also going to be a part of Waves. So there is something for everyone, and I would request the audiences to download Waves later today and be a part of this experience of this entertainment की नई लहर.
दूरदर्शन तो हमारे खून में था, अब वेव हमारी सांसों में होगा. मतलब अच्छी बात है. इनसे सारी चीज़ें बहुत जगह सिनेमा पहुंचती हैं.
Prasar Bharati's OTT platform is poised to offer a diverse range of content, including live channels, archival footage, and original programming to the audience. The platform also focuses on family-friendly content, aiming to provide a wholesome viewing experience for audiences of all ages. Talking about the benefits of content creators, interestingly, the content creator will retain the IP rights. The OTT platform further aims at creating a marketplace to showcase its vast archive of over 2,000 titles, including a treasure trove of heritage photos. Deepika Mehta's report for DD India.
This is a preview file.
In sports news, the Tyagaraja Sports Complex in India's capital, New Delhi, is hosting the Asia-Pacific Bocce and Bowling competition. 12 teams are competing in this prestigious tournament. An Indian mixed Bocce team started on a positive note, beating Malaysia in a key match. DD India's Narayan Singh reports.
The Asia-Pacific Bocce and Bowling competition is underway at the Tyagaraja Sports Complex in New Delhi. This is the first time India is hosting this prestigious event. On day one of the competition, 42 round-robin matches in Bocce took place across different categories. In a notable match, India's mixed doubles Bocce team defeated Malaysia in the round-robin stage. The Indian Bocce team's coach are optimistic about the country's chances in the tournament.
This tournament is very helpful for intellectual disability persons because they meet same ability peoples and it's built their self-confidence also.
बोची गेम हमारे बच्चों का चल रहा है. बच्चों ने बहुत अच्छे से प्रैक्टिस कर रखी है और अभी भी बच्चे अच्छा गेम करेंगे और कर भी रहे हैं और आगे भी इनको अभी तक गोल्ड मेडल लेके आए हैं, आगे भी गोल्ड मेडल लेके जाएंगे और भारत को जिताएंगे, भारत का नाम रोशन करेंगे.
The competition features 12 teams including India, battling it out in various categories. The event showcases athletes with intellectual disabilities celebrating sportsmanship and inclusion. Sports Desk, DD India.
And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.